going on, everybody? It's Nick Payne with Facemask Fantasy, reacting to the big news of the day so far, and it's a somber tidbit. On a day that was supposed to be fun to talk about, exciting to talk about, with football officially returning tonight, with the season kicking off between the Bucs and the Cowboys. Some shitty news out of Baltimore. The Ravens cut practice short today. This is according to both Adam Schefter, Andy, and Rappaport. Ravens cut practice short today after Gus Edwards and Marcus Peters collided on a play, both potentially suffering significant season-ending injuries. So first of all, we can only hope that this turns out to not be true, right? That Peters and Edwards are miraculously okay. If they're not, of course, best wishes to both, speedy recoveries to both. Hopefully they can come back from this if, in fact, one or either are lost for the season. Can't stress that enough. But we are a fantasy podcast, so when there is news, when things happen, we are reacting to it from a fantasy perspective so that you guys can adjust accordingly. So, Edwards was slated to be the starting running back for the Ravens this year after J.K. Dobbins was also lost for the season to an injury. So, the Ravens' backfield is really, really hurting right now because they also lost Justice Hill to an Achilles injury. So, the situation in Baltimore's backfield is dire. I would say from a fantasy perspective, Lamar is going to have to carry a significant workload running the football this year. He was already going to do that. Obviously, he might not throw for 3,000 yards this year. It's conceivable he, goes for 2,500 and 1,500 rushing yards on the ground. I think Lamar, obviously, the offense philosophy is going to shift to designed runs for Lamar, probably more than the Ravens want to, but it is the bread and butter of their offense. Their rushing attack has been lethal the past couple of years ever since Lamar took the job. I don't think they're going to stray they're going to try not to stray as much as possible from what they want to do on offense, the Ravens. So I think Lamar is going to see significant rushing totals this year. He may even be a steal at this point in the 5th round at his ADP. As for the rest of the running backs that are healthy, obviously the name to watch and monitor, and a guy that we have been profiling on this channel, is Tyson Williams. Williams is a rookie. There were many that were speculating that he would take over the Dobbins role following the Dobbins injury, and that Gus Edwards would kind of remain change of pace. Maybe Tyson becomes the feature back. Those chances looked better than ever now at this point. Tyson Williams, we're going to find out really quickly if this kid is ready, because it's possible the Ravens give him a significant workload right off the bat. The team also signed Le'Veon Bell and Trenton Cannon to the 53-man roster. Bell originally to the practice squad, but sounds like he's going to play much sooner than later, and it sounds like Le'Veon Bell's going to have a role much sooner than later. So, who do you draft in fantasy? We are still advocating for Tyson Williams. I think he's draftable. If you haven't drafted yet, we're talking about the Thursday before the season, so many of you have probably drafted, but if you haven't yet, Tyson Williams has easily crept into the top 100 as far as ADP. He might be viable as soon as the 6th or 7th round. That's how soon you could take a guy like Williams, just because the Ravens may not have a choice. They really don't. I think definitely the top 2 running backs that they were planning to rely on this year in Dobbins and Edwards are gone. And Justice Hill is a veteran at this point. Hasn't done a ton in the Ravens offense, but now he's gone as well. Williams may not have any choice but to carry a bigger workload than the Ravens wanted to give him this year. So, 7th round pick, 8th round pick, I think at this point, it's worth that flyer. If it doesn't work out, it's not huge capital, but you're taking a shot on a guy who very well could be a starting running back for what has been one of the most lethal rushing attacks in the NFL the past 3 years. You could do worse. So with dart throws starting to get drafted in the 7th and 8th round, Williams is fine there. As for Bell, I have him pegged, say, maybe the end of drafts, maybe as soon as the 12th round if you really want or need a running back. If you're just a believer in Le'Veon Bell, I probably can't take you off that perch. I think he might be done. He does have 1,100 total yards the past 2 seasons between the Jets and the Chiefs. Mostly unproductive seasons. Bell has absolutely lost a step since his days in Pittsburgh. And if he wasn't, he probably would have been signed sooner than a week ago to a practice squad. But the Ravens find themselves in a situation where their backs are kind of against the wall. The season starts in a couple of days. Their options are incredibly limited. Bell is going to have a role as a result. 12th round, 13th round, that's a fine flyer for a guy like Bell in shallow redraft leagues. Again, if you have not drafted yet, you can take a chance on him. That's fine. But also keep in mind, Baltimore seems highly likely now. The team also worked out Devonta Freeman. They could bring him in, but Devonta Freeman is, but as much as I respect Devonta Freeman, his time in the NFL is probably over. Even if the team does sign him, there's no way I can advocate for you drafting Devonta Freeman or even giving Freeman a look. Whoever the Ravens bring in, they're not likely to be super fantasy relevant, and they cannibalize the guys that do have potential fantasy relevance in Williams and to a much, much lesser extent, Le'Veon Bell. But we'll give the nod to Bell since he's been with the team for a few days now at this point, and now Baltimore needs somebody to step up. So Tyson Williams must add if he's still on waivers. If you haven't drafted yet, I would say by the 7th or 8th round, depending on the format or the league or the scoring, that's a fine flyer. You could even argue you go around higher if you need to. Le'Veon Bell, maybe a 12th or 13th round pick, could be a solid depth piece for you at running back at this point. Don't expect the world though. I do not think Trenton Cannon is fantasy relevant. He's only got 48 career touches. I do not think a guy like Cannon ends up being fantasy relevant. So again, best wishes to Gus Edwards, best wishes to Marcus Peters. You hate to hear this news, especially the day that the NFL comes back. But if in fact they are season-ending injuries, Tyson Williams, a fine piece in drafts if you haven't drafted yet in the middle rounds. And he should not be on waivers anywhere in any league. That's what we have for Gus Edwards, guys. Put your thoughts in the comment section below if you have any thoughts whatsoever about this situation, and we can have a conversation about this. Till then, this is Nick Payne with Facemask Fantasy, producing fantasy content for you guys each and every day. Thanks for listening.